Order. I will have order in this chamber. The High Chancellor of the Galactic Federation slammed his ceremonial gravity staff against the floor with enough force to create ripples in the artificial atmosphere. The 7-foot-tall, blue-skinned diplomat had lost his legendary composure exactly twice in his 327-year career. This marked the third. Representatives of the 57 sentient species of the Federation, we are gathered today to address Petition GF 7732, formally titled, "The Immediate and Complete Ban of Terrestrial Support Creatures from all Federation Territories and Spacecraft." The petition has been signed by 49 member species. From his tiny seat in the absolutely massive amphitheater, Mac Daniels sighed heavily into his translator mic. As Earth's sole representative in the Galactic Federation, he had known this day was coming for months. He just hadn't expected the situation to reach critical mass quite so quickly. The Dravaxian representative rose on her 6 spindly legs. "High Chancellor, if I may summarize the grievances. In the 18 months since humans joined our peaceful federation, their so-called emotional support animals have caused 17 diplomatic incidents, 38 property damage reports, 1 extinction-level panic, and the first-ever resignation of an elder council member who cited acute mammalian stress disorder in his departure speech." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Mac scanned the faces of his alien colleagues. The Vorpulons were literally steaming with anger. The Zinthi delegation had formed a defensive circle, and the usually stoic meat diplomats had turned a violent shade of purple that their species only displayed when preparing for combat. The High Chancellor turned his enormous eyes toward the human section, which consisted solely of Mac and his coffee mug that read "World's Okayest Ambassador." "Representative Daniels, do you wish to make a statement before the Council deliberates?" Mac stood, straightening his rumpled Federation uniform. "High Chancellor, esteemed colleagues, before we rush to judgment, I believe we should review exactly how we arrived at this unfortunate situation." Humans had achieved faster-than-light travel approximately 14 seconds before accidentally crashing into a Zinthi diplomatic cruiser. As galactic first contacts went, it wasn't the worst in Federation history that honor belonged to the Groks, who had introduced themselves by attempting to pickle an entire meat colony, but it certainly wasn't optimal. After the usual formalities, threats of annihilation, hasty apologies, an exchange of ambassadors, and 17,000 pages of paperwork, Earth was grudgingly admitted to the Galactic Federation as its 57th member species. The admission came with strict guidelines, most of which humans followed without complaint. Except for one. "What do you mean we can't bring our animals?" The human delegation had practically shrieked during the final treaty negotiations. The Federation representatives exchanged puzzled looks. The concept of pets was foreign to most galactic species. Animals in the greater galaxy were categorized as either food, dangerous, or best observed from extremely safe distances. The human practice of inviting other species to live in their homes was considered somewhere between bizarre and clinically insane. "It is simply a matter of biosecurity," explained Ambassador Krillex of the Vorpulons, a species resembling humanoid praying mantises with a notorious fear of anything furry. Non-sentient species could introduce pathogens, behavioral disruptions, or unpredictable elements into carefully balanced environments. The human negotiators huddled together, whispering frantically. Then, one of them, a particularly crafty lawyer from Boston, stepped forward with a smile that should have immediately triggered every alarm in Federation security protocols. "What about emotional support animals? Surely the Federation recognizes the psychological wellness needs of its member species." The Federation did, in fact, have extensive wellness accommodations written into its charter. And since no other species had ever requested emotional support animals before, there were no specific regulations against them. Within weeks of joining the Federation, humans had exploited this loophole with breathtaking efficiency. The first human embassies in space featured cats sprawled across diplomatic tables, dogs barking at alien dignitaries, and in one memorable case, an emotional support python that caused the entire Zinthi delegation to evacuate their own embassy. Mac Daniels, then just a junior diplomat, had tried to warn his superiors, "Sir, these aliens have never encountered Earth animals before. They don't understand that a guinea pig isn't going to conquer their planet. His boss, Ambassador Wellington, had waved him off. Nonsense, Daniels. They'll adapt. Besides, I'm not leaving Mr. Whiskers at home for my 3-year posting. He gets separation anxiety. Mr. Whiskers, a particularly rotund tabby cat, chose that moment to knock over a priceless Vorpulon crystal sculpture while maintaining direct eye contact with Ambassador Wellington. The first official complaint was filed the next day, but it wasn't until the hamster incident that things really went sideways. Ambassador Krillix of the Vorpulons was widely respected across 17 galaxies. A master tactician who had negotiated peace between the warring moons of Asiagos, he was known for his unflappable demeanor and iron constitution, which made his complete mental breakdown aboard the Federation flagship all the more shocking. Human diplomats had been invited to celebrate the anniversary of the Galactic Peace Accords. Junior attaché Melissa Johnson had brought along her emotional support hamster, Mr. Snuffles, in his space-adapted rolling ball. What the humans didn't know was that the Vorpulon evolutionary path had been dramatically shaped by tiny, bloody predators that looked remarkably similar to Earth hamsters, except with venomous fangs and a taste for mantis flesh. When Mr. Snuffles escaped his ball and scurried across the banquet floor, Ambassador Krillix, hero of the Zorgon conflict and recipient of the Order of Galactic Merit, leapt onto the buffet table, screaming in a frequency that shattered every crystal glass in the room. Flesh devourer. The ancient enemy returns. We are doomed. In the ensuing chaos, 3 peace treaties were accidentally nullified, a minor trade war was declared, and the Dravaxian cheese display was tragically destroyed. It took 7 Federation security officers to remove the ambassador from the chandelier where he had taken refuge. Jack, who had been assigned to damage control, spent 14 hours explaining that Mr. Snuffles was a harmless herbivore who mostly enjoyed sunflower seeds and running on his wheel. With all due respect, Representative Daniels, said the head of Federation security, the ambassador is currently sedated and requesting asylum from what he describes as, and I quote, the fuzzy harbinger of extinction. The diplomatic fallout was immediate. The Vorpulons threatened to withdraw from the Federation entirely. 3 other species declared that they stood in solidarity with their insect-adjacent allies against mammalian infiltration. Mac authored a 40-page report recommending strict guidelines for emotional support animals in diplomatic settings. His report was filed, acknowledged, and promptly ignored by human authorities who considered it an overreaction to one isolated incident. 2 weeks later, Mac was promoted to senior representative after his boss was relocated following what Federation records described as the unfortunate ferret misunderstanding. His first official act was to implement a quiet no rodents policy among human diplomatic staff. For a while, things calmed down. Then came the cats. Commander Fluffington didn't look like a threat to galactic security. With his fluffy orange fur, substantial girth, and perpetually unimpressed expression, he seemed more like a sentient throw pillow than a diplomatic incident waiting to happen. But appearances, as the Zordax Museum of Invaluable Historical Artifacts was about to discover, could be deceiving. Fluffington belonged to Dr. Eleanor Wright, the newly appointed human curator liaison to the museum. The prestigious position came with living quarters adjacent to the museum's most valuable collection, a decision that would later be described in the official inquiry as catastrophically short-sighted. For the first month, everything went smoothly. Dr. Wright was a model employee. Commander Fluffington mostly slept on the climate control unit, occasionally batting at the holographic security display. The Zordax Museum housed treasures from across the galaxy, including the irreplaceable crystalline orbs of Antigon delicate spheres that contained the recorded thoughts of an extinct civilization. The orbs were kept in a special chamber with security measures that would make most planetary defense systems look like child's play. Yet somehow, one by one, the orbs began disappearing. Security protocols showed no breaches. The genetic scanners registered nothing unusual. The quantum entanglement alarm system remained undisturbed. Museum director Zor Thalax was on the verge of a nervous collapse when his assistant suggested reviewing the thermal imaging logs, a backup system so outdated most security personnel didn't even know it existed. The footage showed a worn, cat-shaped blob systematically disabling the orb security system by knocking specific crystals off their pedestals in precisely the right sequence, then batting the priceless artifacts down ventilation shafts. When confronted, Dr. Wright was horrified. But that's impossible. Fluffington can barely operate his automatic food dispenser. The recovery team found all 17 missing orbs neatly arranged in a pile under Dr. Wright's bed, alongside several security badges, a small collection of alien jewelry, and the museum director's favorite pen. Mac received the call at 3 a.m. Earth Standard Time. Representative Daniels, Director Zor Thalax's voice wavered with barely contained fury. One of your emotional support creatures has compromised the security of the most significant historical collection in 3 quadrants. The High Council is being notified. By morning, 12 more Federation species had signed the petition for a ban on Earth animals. But the final straw, the incident that pushed the galaxy from irritation to outright revolt, involved humanity's most beloved companion species and a fundamental misunderstanding of physics. The orbital research platform Harmonia was the Federation's pride and enjoy a state-of-the-art zero-gravity laboratory where scientists from all member species collaborated on the most challenging questions facing galactic civilization. Dr. Jason Cooper, Earth's leading xenobiologist, had been invited to join the prestigious research team along with his emotional support animal, a golden retriever named Einstein. Federation authorities had reluctantly approved the arrangement after Dr. Cooper provided 17 medical certificates and threatened a discrimination lawsuit. Einstein is very well trained, Dr. Cooper assured the station commander. He'll stay in my quarters except during designated exercise periods. What Dr. Cooper failed to consider was that well-trained on Earth didn't necessarily translate to well-trained in an environment without gravity. The incident report later described what happened as a cascading series of canine-induced catastrophes. It began when Einstein, excited by his first experience in zero-G, slipped his leash during a sanctioned exercise period. Zero gravity, as it turns out, is paradise for dogs. Einstein bounced off walls, spun through the air, and discovered that barking propelled him backward, a phenomenon he found endlessly entertaining. The Harmonia's alien residents, however, were less amused. The Xinthi scientists mistook the airborne canine for a mutated space parasite and triggered the station's quarantine protocol. The MEEP researchers, seeing a large predator flying directly at them, released their defense chemicals, a noxious purple gas that smelled like concentrated garbage and stuck to every surface it touched. The station's AI, detecting multiple security breaches, initiated the emergency containment procedure, sealing off each section of the station, which might have helped if Einstein hadn't been zooming through the closing doors at precisely the wrong moments. When station security finally cornered the dog in the main hydroponics bay, Einstein had already destroyed 3 experiments, contaminated the air filtration system with MEEP defensive secretions, and most unforgivably consumed the station commander's lunch. The emergency evacuation of the Harmonia was broadcast live across Federation channels. For 7 excruciating hours, viewers watched as scientists from 17 species were loaded onto escape pods, many covered in purple goo, while a joyful golden retriever could be seen bouncing past windows in the background. The infamous transmission from the station's final evacuation shuttle contained only 5 words: "Who let the dogs out?" It became an instant galactic meme and the unofficial slogan of the anti-Earth animal movement. The formal petition was filed the next day, with 49 species demanding immediate action. And now here they were. Mac Daniels, standing alone before the Galactic Council, trying to defend humanity's right to keep their beloved companions in space. High Chancellor, esteemed representatives, Mac began, I acknowledge the incidents described are regrettable. But I ask you to consider an alternative to a complete ban. The chamber erupted in protests. The High Chancellor pounded his gravity staff again. Representative Daniels, 49 species have signed this petition. What possible defense could you offer? Mac took a deep breath. I propose a demonstration. From behind his podium, he produced a small container. The security officers tensed. This is Charlie. He's a guinea pig, a completely harmless herbivore that my daughter asked me to look after while she's at school. With your permission, I'd like to introduce him to any willing representative. The chamber fell silent. Then, unexpectedly, a small voice spoke up. I volunteer. All eyes turned to the Xandarian ambassador, Plex, a diminutive being with large, sensitive eyes who was known for her extreme caution. She approached Mac's podium with visible trepidation. Mac carefully opened the container, revealing a small, brown guinea pig who immediately began munching on a carrot slice. Plex studied the creature with scientific curiosity. After a moment's hesitation, she extended one finger toward Charlie, who responded by making a soft purring sound and nuzzling her hand. The ambassador's eyes widened. It vibrates with contentment. Fascinating. For the next 20 minutes, the council watched in astonishment as the normally reserved Xandarian ambassador cooed over the guinea pig, eventually cradling Charlie in her arms as she addressed her colleagues. Esteemed friends, I believe we may have been hasty. These creatures clearly possess qualities we have not fully understood. I move that we consider Representative Daniel's alternative proposal. Mac stepped forward again. Chancellor, I propose the establishment of a Federation animal training and certification program. Any human wishing to bring a companion animal into Federation space would need to complete rigorous training and certification. Animals would be evaluated for temperament and behavior before receiving clearance. Special accommodations would be required in human embassies and residences. He paused. Additionally, I propose cultural exchange programs to help other species understand Earth animals and to help humans understand why launching a golden retriever in zero gravity might not be the best idea. The council deliberated for 3 days. In the end, the compromise satisfied almost no one completely. Humans complained about the extensive paperwork and training requirements. Many alien species still maintained that all Earth animals were potential threats to galactic security. But the certification program was established. The first graduating class included 17 dogs, 12 cats, 3 rabbits, and 1 particularly well-behaved bearded dragon. Ambassador Plex adopted the first officially certified emotional support guinea pig, creating a minor diplomatic sensation and launching a small but growing interest in Earth pets among certain adventurous Federation species. And Mac Daniels received a new coffee mug from his staff. This one read, "Saved Earth's pets from deportation, and all I got was this lousy promotion." He kept it next to his new title, Federation Commissioner of Interspecies Companion Relations. The galaxy would never be the same.